On this week's episode, Dual Thors showcase some love and thunder. Just how good is Star Trek Strange New Worlds? And mateys, we finally have our skull and bones. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Vampires and Vitae. Also, as well, everything that we do at popculturecosmos.com. Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, where we not only cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every day at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. We are the #1 tabletop RPG streamer right there on Facebook. So check out all the action that Melinda, Rob, Roger, Trevor, Michael, everybody, Mitch, everybody that does, that's there for the whole entire group that's known as the Pop Culture Cosmos crew at Tabletop RPG Land, the #1 tabletop RPG streamers out there on Facebook. So go ahead and check out our videos today at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. And if you can go ahead and do all that, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. She is hanging with me when it comes to wearing the D&D shirts. It is my good friend indeed.
Yeah, man.
You got to go ahead and catch out what she's doing today at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. Vampires and Vitae, wherever you get your podcasts, please go ahead and give them some big time support today. Plus, also, she's a YouTube star, but don't tell anyone I said so. It is my good friend who does a lot of other things that she will tell you as well, including a big winner. It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross. And Melinda, great to have you back on the show once again.
So good to be back.
I know, it does just sound with just enthusiasm there, like you're just like hesitating.
Oh,
what do I say?
Well, no, sorry, because I was sitting here and I'm looking at a list of names and I was trying to figure out how I could segue from what you just said into like some selfish, shameless self promotion. That's what was all happening in my brain all at once.
Go ahead.
I am happy to be here. I'm happy to see you.
Self promote, young lady.
Okay. So, Vampires and Vitae, my character for season 2, her name is Esther, and we've created a tarot card mechanic. And Esther was inspired by a particular deck that I kickstarted. I backed it, I should say. I didn't do the kickstart. Anyway, I happened to order a few extra decks, and we ran a little contest over on the Vampires and Vitae Facebook page, and I have 3 winners to announce. We haven't even announced this on the Vampires and Vitae page yet. So you're getting a first time right here. But we want to say congratulations to, I know, I'm so excited. So congratulations to Danny Weber, Barry DeRue, and Avery. Avery is Las Vegas local, and Avery and Barry have both given us permission to go ahead and mess with the decks a little bit, pull cards, add cards, all of that kind of stuff, write on cards, rip them a little bit, burn them, whatever, just all kinds of fun things to do with them. So the deck is called the Alleyman Tarot deck, and the deck is very unique. It was pulled from a whole bunch of different decks. There were cards that were created specifically for this deck, and the biggest thing about it is it's not supposed to be exactly the same deck by the time you use it as when you get it. So the point of the deck is that you're supposed to mess with it. You're supposed to play with it a little bit. You're supposed to add things, take things away.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's led to a pretty wild character in Vampires and Vitae. She's pretty I don't know what the word is to properly describe her, but we'll call it interesting. Anyway, so Danny, Barry, and Avery, Avery, your cards are here, Vegas local. We'll deliver those ones. But for Danny and Barry, they'll be in the mail here in the next few days. Fingers crossed, hopefully, if I can get my ducks in a row enough to get to the post office. But yeah, congratulations.
Well, first off, thank you for allowing us at the Pop Culture Cosmos to go ahead and unveil the first round of winners right there for you. I know you'll be repeating those winners again on your own show, Vampires and Vitae. So congratulations to those
Yes.
winners. Again, the cards will be out to you very shortly. So our good friends at Vampires and Vitae, just thank you so much for going ahead and presenting that on the show today. And go ahead and check out everything that you're doing where?
All over the place, mainly on Facebook and the Pop Culture Cosmos Twitch page. Is it a page on Twitch? What do you call it? Is
Yeah,
it
it's a
a
channel. It's an
profile?
experience.
Channel. Yes,
Experience.
excuse me. It's a channel. You're right, Twitch channel. But yeah, so if you just want to go from today forward, so after we're done here today, Gerald, I am laying down the music for this week's episode of Vampires and Vitae, which will drop tomorrow morning. And then I immediately start work on the next Wizards and Wine episode for the podcast. And of course, we have the next game coming up with the Las Vegas table at 7:30 on Monday night. It'll be on the Wizards and Wine Facebook page. It'll be on the Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page. It'll be on Twitch. It'll be on YouTube. And eventually it'll make its way to a podcasting service. So
There
that's
you go.
pretty much what I have going on.
A
Pretty
lot of
much.
things, pretty much, a lot of things going on there. I do want to, before we go on with the show, also congratulate our friends at Retro City Games. They are closing
Mm.
down their, actually, I wouldn't say their original store because it wasn't their original store, but their longtime store in Henderson, they are closing down, but for a good reason because they're moving to an even bigger, grander, and more convenient store in Henderson. It's going to be 213 North Stephanie, so go ahead and check it out. The grand opening is next week, so go ahead and check us out there. I'm going to be live streaming from there. We're going to be doing a lot of great stuff there as the opening for Retro City Games in their new location on Stephanie. If you have any questions, just go ahead and stop by the Facebook page and Instagram pages at Retro City Games. But congratulations to both Douglas and also Nicole on the great work that they've done over the years. They've got 2 great locations on the Strip and also coming soon a new location in Henderson as well. But coming up on the PC Multiverse, we've got a lot of great things to talk about, including some video game action on the back end where we're talking Nacon Connect. Who is Nacon? Nason? Nacon? Nason? You say
Why
Nason, I say
why are they
Nacon.
connecting?
Why are they connected? We'll tell you about what
Yeah,
this
why are they connecting?
French, why are they connected? Indeed. But we'll talk about why this French video game publisher has a lot to talk about coming up, including some flashbacks to the 80s in their upcoming video games. That's coming up on the back end, along with an update on God of War Ragnarok and a release date for that game. Plus, da 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 da, my goodness, a treasure is found with Skull and Bones from Ubisoft finally, finally getting a release date. We'll tell you when both of those games are coming out this fall. That's coming up on the back end of the show. We also pay tribute to James Caan. Rest in peace. He unfortunately passed away at the age of 82 today. We'll talk a little bit about his career coming up on the back end. I asked Melinda the major question I always ask Josh, and we've touched on this many times on our previous episodes, but what would she like to see rebooted as a movie or television series? That answer is coming up on the back end of the show as well, plus Miss Marvel. And also, I will go ahead and, I guess maybe do a little teasing to Melinda in regards to her, the Star Trek super fan that she is, why she hasn't checked out Strange New Worlds. That's coming up on the show as well. But first, my friend, at the box office this weekend, it's a movie that you had talked about, that you had predicted would be the biggest hit of the MCU season this year. I'm not sure if it's going to beat Black Panther 2. We'll see. You also said it's going to beat Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That's Thor, Love and Thunder. That's hitting theaters this weekend. It is return for Natalie Portman as the Lady Thor. She gains those powers and becomes a major force in the MCU in this new I guess a Taika Waititi sequel. It's not. It's the 4th Thor film, but it's the second film directed by Taika Waititi, who also plays Korg, the rock giant. That's also a funny guy as well. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. You got Valkyrie, you've got Russell Crowe in there as Zeus, you've got Christian Bale as the enemy, as Gore the God Butcher, looking for revenge against all the gods. Looks like it's going to be set up to a lot of fun. The thing is, though, the movie came out and Metacritic currently has it as a 60 with reviews all over the place. From it's another great Taika Waititi production to one I saw from Time magazine saying it was just a snooze. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. The reviews are all over the place. The advance word is that it's going to probably hit around $150 million domestic, which isn't a whole lot more than Minions Rise of Gru last weekend. What are your thoughts? Do you still have those same hopes as far as Thor Love and Thunder upending Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and reaching $1 billion? Because Josh swears it's going to go over $1 billion. I'm not so sure. It's at 950 million, Doctor Strange, and it's already lost a lot of steam. So I'm going to say it's just going to miss unless it gets a little help from Disney. But your thoughts on Thor's Love and Thunder's ultimate success?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hugely successful. I mean, look at the actors who have signed on for it: Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. Are you kidding me right now? You're gonna add those on top of us finally seeing Jane take the hammer and become Thor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've read the arc in the comics, and it was fantastic. I enjoyed every single comic that I read, except I will say though, I was working in radio at the time, filling in on the morning show, and the other female who was part of the show, she was doing like the entertainment news for the day, and she just like straight up spoiled who the female Thor was before I managed to get to the comic book store and read the comic. I was like, what?
You're
Why
like,
would you do
gee,
that?
thanks.
Yeah, yeah. All I'm saying is I have a little bit of a history with this particular arc that they're going to take on by having Jane become Thor. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It just feels like a summer movie. It feels right. I think it's setting itself up in all of the correct ways. I think it's going to be another bright and colorful Thor movie, which is a lot better than whatever Thor 2 was. I did not enjoy that movie at all.
No one did. That's okay.
Yeah, so, I think fell asleep, and, I mean, I've given, Multiverse of Madness, it took Robbie and I, like, 5 tries to get through the whole movie. We kept falling asleep. So I don't think that's how I'm gonna react with the new Thor movie, though. I think it's gonna do quite well, and I'm really excited for it.
So you think it's going to do? It has to do over $1 billion because, like I said, it's the movie Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness has stalled right a little over $950 million right now. It most
Yeah,
likely will not get to $1 billion unless it has some help from Disney in some form or fashion. So it will probably
right.
Thor: Love and Thunder will probably have to do over $1 billion to beat it. So you think it'll do more than $1 billion to the box office? You said that
That's what
before that it
Josh
would
has
have
said.
to. Well, no, you
I
said it would beat Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. I think that was your
Right,
words
okay,
anyway.
fine, okay, fine. I will continue to eat that crow. I,
Well, I
predict
hey,
that it will do over $1 billion in the worldwide market, and I think that it's going to be, one of the most successful Thor movies. I just think it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think that Christian Bale as a villain is fantastic. I think it's a brilliant move, and Russell Crowe as Zeus, I'm here for it.
well, I don't say Crow or not. I think that it's still going to do pretty good. I think that it's still up for debate. I wish it would have come out last weekend. I would feel more confident about it going over $1 billion had it come out on the July 4th weekend because we saw that people were willing to go out and see a movie, pretty much any new movie that was coming out. In fact, they saw Minions Rise of Gru and they came out and exceeded expectations. So I think if going back in time, Disney probably would have had a change of heart and probably put it on the July 4th weekend. Roger says he watched Multiverse twice in 24 hours, enjoyed it more the second time. Roger, I enjoyed it more at home. I thought for my television, it was actually better suited than actually at the theater I was at. To give you that idea as well, I kind of liked it better the second time around at home on my TV. So I actually like that experience a lot more. I think Disney Plus goes out of its way to make a home experience with its IMAX enhanced and also everything that they do to update it to modern televisions. Do a really good job of it. So I agree with you there on that sense. But yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder. I think it will do very well. I'm not sure if it's going to pass the $1 billion mark. I still kind of I'm all over the place. I'm hoping you're right. I'm actually hoping you're right. I'm hoping that you won't have to pull out the turkey. I mean slash crow that I had to eat on the last week's episode of the PCC Multiverse, and I hope that everything will go ahead as far as MCU going forward. But I had this conversation with my good friend in Australia, Ben Arnault from the Smoking Hot Confessions, about the future of where we're at, in this phase 4, about it being confusing to people. You don't know the direction. I know Comic-Con later this month will hopefully clear things up as Marvel makes an appearance and sets out forth its phase 4/phase 5, and starts to go ahead and explain itself there. But I really think that right now a lot of people are trying to figure out what is going on. Is the multiverse the main thing? Should they be worried more about something else? It's just kind of hard to figure out what's going on in phase 4, and I think that's leading to part of the reason why that you're not seeing as big a numbers on the MCU movies. Plus, Disney Plus is an added thing in the mix on the reasons why that the MCU movies are not hitting as strongly as they have been in the past in previous phases of the MCU.
That's right, and we are on a bit of an uptick, again with, COVID infections and things like that, so that may play a little bit into it as well. That might keep people from going out to the
Good
movie
point.
theater,
Very good point.
you know, on a global stage, not just here in North America. So, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but I just have a super good feeling about this movie.
Well, if it gets released in China, that's a big boom. I know that that's part of the reason why that Doctor Strange, it's been not available in certain areas of the markets in the world. That's part of the reason why it didn't achieve that huge success that, let's say, Spider-Man: No Way Home achieved. As it achieved close to $2 billion in its own right. So I think that if Thor is released in virtually all of its markets out there, it can really do well, perhaps even better than Doctor Strange. We'll see. I think again, being out on the July 4th weekend probably would have given it that nice little shot out there that I think would have really sent it out strong, because you see the reaction out there from people watching Minions: Rise of Gru. So we'll see. There's going to be a nice little battle at the box office. But if you have thoughts out there on Thor: Love and Thunder, I know I'm going to check it out. I know Melinda's going to check it out. Are you going to check out Thor: Love and Thunder? We would love to hear your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, there's still much more to talk about on today's program. And before I get into some sad news with Star Trek this week, I want to go ahead and mention to you Miss Marvel. Speaking of Disney Plus, as we
Yes.
just talked about,
Mhm.
Miss Marvel episode 5, kind of a shorter episode this week, touched on the backstory of the great grandma of Kamala Khan and her story in Pakistan, and actually in India, and how it had to separate because a British controlled India was actually becoming fragmented because it was becoming more of an independent country, and the Muslims had to go ahead, I believe, and move over to Pakistan, if I'm not mistaken. And in the process of doing so, and dealing with the train issues and the sheer bodily amount of people that were having to migrate over from one area to another. I mean, those parts were very fascinating to see. I love that intro for this episode. If you've caught that yet out there, the way that they popped in the Marvel as far as an old 40s style film, and how they did the Marvel intro for that,
Right.
I thought was really, really good. It reminded me a lot of what they did in WandaVision on a couple of episodes. So I really applaud Marvel for being creative and out of the box like that. But, just showcasing what, incorporating the Marvel history and what they're doing in the episode with the actual real life history and blending it in one in and of itself, I think is really a good way to go ahead and do it. But your thoughts on Miss Marvel? It sounds like you got a chance to check it out and share some thoughts on that, because again, it was a shorter episode, but I still thought it told a pretty good tale, especially from how and where not only the clandestines, the jinn, the evil bad people that are in the series, but also from the perspective of exactly how the bangle came to be so important in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I um I still feel like this is intended for a bit of a younger audience,
Mhm.
which is not at all a criticism.
No.
I think that it's very smart for Marvel to have done that. And I'm really enjoying it. This week I spent a little bit more time watching The Boys, so I'm all caught up on The Boys, and yes, including that episode.
Yep.
Um, so so Miss Marvel, I'm gonna have to spend a little bit more time with the latest episode because, to be completely honest, it was in the background while I was prepping for two different games, such as the life of running Dungeons and Dragon games. But um, I really appreciate and enjoy the direction that they're in. I think it's the correct way to do it, and I think that everything that they are doing, I think, is setting a really great tone for the series. And have they announced if there's getting a season 2 yet?
No, they've not announced it yet, but she has already been demonstrated, or she's actually performed. They showed footage from, I guess, say some type of theme park experience or some time like that. I saw footage on YouTube where she was integrated as part of it, along with Captain Marvel and also Falcon, aka Captain America, and some other individuals, Ant Man and the Wasp. They were all part of this, so she was like all part of the team. They all knew each other, and it just seemed like that she was part of this whole big family now, and she had all on the comic book costume, and it seems like they've
Perfect.
already got her set going forward, and that she's going to be a major part of what goes on in the future. Of course, she's going to be part of the Marvels, Captain Marvel 2, the Marvels, when that comes out. She's going to be a part of that. Will we see a Captain Marvel, I guess, cameo in the last episode? We'll see about that. Coming up next week, but I do think that she is going to become a major part of what we're seeing going forward. I don't know if we're going to see a season 2. This season has been a little bit up and down for me. I like the fact that I'm learning more about the Pakistani culture, the separation of how Pakistan came to be as opposed to what India came to be, the British rule and all that. I'm understanding more about that concept because it happened right in the 1940s during that period of World War II, and Captain America and what
Mhm.
he was doing. So learning more about that, and then also today's culture, Pakistani culture here in America. I appreciate that so much as far as what I'm learning there, and I think that that's the best part of it for me. But yes, it does at times cater to a younger audience, and sometimes it loses me on that as an older viewer, and it sometimes actually loses my own kids in that teenage area because it gets a little bit corny, a little bit on that end. I
Sure.
know that my
Sure.
kids are like, they don't really want to see that either. But it's again, for the most part, it's been a good show to watch, and I can't wait to see what the final episode will bring, with hopefully an appearance from Captain Marvel. So it will explain something else in the MCU, which is something I've complained about in this phase, is that they're all trying to be a lot of them are self-contained stories, and they don't expand the larger narrative in the MCU, which the phase 2 and 3 did so well as far as setting up for the future of the MCU, what we ultimately saw out of Endgame. So I really think that it needs to start telling a larger narrative with even just the little bits and pieces of these series and movies, and maybe we'll find that out in Thor: Love and Thunder as well.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Thor: Love and Thunder could really set that stage, and even step back and give a little bit of more room for the newer superheroes that they're bringing out in Phase 4.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll go ahead and cap off our final thoughts next week on the entire season 1 of Miss Marvel. As Miss Marvel, the episode 6 will go ahead and be done by then. So it looks like Melinda's taking notes as we go ahead
Yeah.
and watch Miss
Here's
Marvel.
your
Go,
homework.
Yes, and go ahead and tell Gerald he is extremely strange in his own right. About 10 minutes in each and every episode. Got it. Okay, there you go. But if you can go ahead and let us know your thoughts on Miss Marvel, we truly would appreciate it. Please let us know. Are you liking what you're seeing so far? Are you liking to go ahead and seeing this side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Is that in your notes right there about me? Huh? Is that in there? Is that in there?
Yeah, it's actually it's up here. I thought it was hidden though. I thought my
Okay.
keyboard had it.
Okay.
So
No worries. No worries. No worries indeed. But my friend, before we hit the break, I love self-deprecation. What can I say? But
I know I do.
before we hit the break, there's something I want to say. I'm very sad. Very sad. Oh, of course, in true honesty, yes, I'm very sad to see the passing of James Gunn, but we'll go ahead and touch on that in the back end of the episode in all seriousness there. But in not so seriousness, I am very sad to see the end of season 1 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, a show which you have not caught as of yet, and you are the Star Trek super fan, are you not?
Yeah, I know. Gerald, when I applied to be on the show, I promise you I did not rely on my resume. I
Okay.
do love me some Star Trek, but I don't have the streaming service that the show is
I know.
on, so that makes it very difficult to watch it.
Well, I've
Honestly,
got a
it's been a
deal
pain
for
in my
you.
neck.
I've got a deal for you.
Okay.
I think I've seen ads on it throughout the internet that you can get it right now for 99 cents for a month. So I think,
Oh,
or so, yeah,
well,
something like that.
I'll
So I
look into
saw
that.
the digits 99 next to Paramount Plus. So people go ahead and check it out. I could be wrong, but I'm probably not. They're probably trying to do anything they can get you at least on a first month basis. You can cram in a lot of stuff on Star Trek in that month. So go ahead, please go ahead and get Paramount Plus, because Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and you can quote me here on this, is the best season of Star Trek in decades. And I'll just leave it at that because
Dang.
it is
All
really
right.
that good. It's fun, it's interesting, and they capped it off with a great episode. Severance, I've told you, was just such an awe of that show on Apple Plus. They followed up here with Star Trek Strange New Worlds in the same fashion with a killer final episode, because Christopher Pike, aka Anson Mount, who is killing it, which I know that Kevin
Mhm.
Feige is somewhere in Marvel Land saying, why did they ever get this guy just to play a role in Inhumans as a guy who can't speak? I can't believe
Right.
it. We blew it there. Yes. So he is just tremendous as Captain Pike, and he's done such a great job. The entire crew has done a great job. It's just a sensational show. It takes you back to the old days of when it goes to a different story each and every week. They do have little things that intertwine throughout the episodes, but again, it's mainly a new adventure each and every week. Roger says Melinda is welcome to come to my house and watch it with me. So there you go. You've got an invitation right there from Rogers. You and
There it
Robbie
is.
go right there. Go ahead, check out Star Trek. Put that in the notes. Go ahead, invade Roger's house.
We'll
Go
make it
ahead.
a day. Don't
Yes,
forget swimsuit because Roger has a pool.
yes, and don't forget to go ahead and raid the fridge. Please raid the fridge.
Yes.
Make sure you, yes, okay. Grab the beer. But
And the
yes,
liquor cabinet. It's
yes.
impressive.
Yes, absolutely. But I will say that people need to go ahead and check out what you're seeing at Star Trek Strange New Worlds, because it is absolutely one of the best seasons of Star Trek that's out there. I mean, I was highly disinterested in watching this season of Star Trek Picard, which I know you have issues with me on. Again, it's been for me a bumpy ride on Star Trek Picard, but Star Trek Strange New Worlds gets you right back in. Discovery has, I know for some, been a hard watch, but that has gotten progressively better and better in its storytelling. And Star Trek Strange New Worlds, I think, took all those lessons that both Picard and Discovery have learned over the past 2 3 years in making their shows, and said, you know what, we're going to do things a little bit differently, and we're going to go back to some of the things that made the original Star Trek series work and click with fans. Although it actually clicked with fans when it went into reruns, but that's another story. What clicked with fans, and they took a lot of that, plus they grabbed some stuff from the new shows, and they made it a right blend. And they seemed, but most important thing is that this crew has a lot of fun working with each other. It comes across on screen that they really enjoy working with each other, and that I think makes this show really one of the best this so far this year, and the best Star Trek series. I should say season. I want to say series yet, because you can't. I don't, again, like, can't do things. Same thing with Severance. You can't go off the first season and go ahead and say, "Oh, it's one of the greatest TV shows ever." Yeah, it's one of the greatest seasons of Star Trek in a long, long time.
And that may be the case. And well, I think too a little part perhaps is the familiarity of that formulaic classic Star Trek episode where
Mhm.
it's new planet, new monster, you overcome.
And
You know
some
what I
of it is
mean?
like
Like
that. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not, please, like, whoa, don't come for me. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it may have been easier for Star Trek fans to accept a more familiar feeling Star Trek than the out of the box thinking that I think was behind Star Trek Discovery and Picard as well.
Yeah. But this one, again, it does a great job of actually throwing something new at you each and every week, although still trying to go ahead and provide some underlying themes. One of which is the ultimate, I guess the timeline. We know where Spock, Captain Pike, we know where those two are going to end up in as far as the pantheon of Star Trek universe is concerned. And
Right.
will they try to change it? Can they change it? I think those are some of the questions that are brought forth in this season. Plus, the decisions that are made as far as the overall weight of the Star Trek universe as it starts to develop, as it gets into the point where you start seeing familiar faces from TOS, aka the original series. So how they're blending that in, for the most part, it really works. One little tidbit I think maybe could have been done a little bit better, which I think fans of the Star Trek series would probably mostly agree with me on that. And I don't really want to go into spoilers on what that is because it's actually kind of a big spoiler, especially in the last episode. So won't go too far on that. But if you get a chance, please, you won't regret it. Check out Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Even if you're not a fan of the actual series itself previously, you'll have a lot of fun with this because they had a lot of fun themselves in doing it. I can really tell it shows itself as such, and I really think they did a great job at Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and it's a must watch for me.
Fantastic. I can't wait to get into it. I'm gonna check out the Paramount Plus stuff as
Okay,
soon as
I
we're
think
well,
there's a
no, not
deal.
as
I
soon as
think
we're done.
there's.
Yeah, I've got to finish Vampires and Vitae first.
Okay.
And then I have to make sure that the Wizards and Wine audio from 2 weeks ago is still good, and then I can go and I can look into some Paramount Plus stuff.
Okay. All right. Well,
It's a
if
late night in the Ross household.
I will tell you what, if I could find a deal out there, I will post it on the Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page out there for Paramount Plus. So if you want to go ahead and check out Star Trek Strange New Worlds, you hopefully will be able to find a deal out there on Paramount Plus. So please, if you get a chance or you've already seen the first season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds to just show you how good it is, please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, Belinda and I are going to be talking some video games, also acknowledging the death and also the great career of James Caan. And if Melinda, in this age of reboots, would love her own reboot of a movie or TV series, she'll let us know what that is. That's coming up on the back end of the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with the PCC Multiverse. It's Melinda Barkhouse Ross and me, Gerald Glassford, sporting the D&D shirts. Rock on, Dungeons and Dragons. Although, in Stranger Things season 4, Dungeons and Dragons, that was always, kind of risque there. A lot of people had issues with Dungeons and Dragons, but they don't now, that's for sure. I know coming up, they made the announcement that Dungeons and Dragons is going to appear at Comic-Con, so I know a lot of people are excited about that. But heading back out of the break here, we've got a lot of things still to talk about on today's program. Want to ask you a question, Miss PlayStation fan.
What's that?
What is the big game you think is still coming out on the horizon this year? There's been a lot of first-party exclusives from both Xbox and PlayStation that said bye-bye to 2022 and said hello to delays to 2023. There's still one out there that got announced this week that is coming to 2022. Which one could that be?
Tell me.
All
Tell me,
right,
Gerald.
I will tell you, Miss PlayStation fan. And that is,
Okay.
speaking of Ragnarok, what we were talking about earlier with Thor Ragnarok and the successor, which is Thor Love and Thunder, God of War Ragnarok. That was announced by Sony as coming out this year, actually, surprising enough, on November the 9th. You too can go ahead and get into the next installment of the God of War series as God of War Ragnarok will hit shelves. Know that made a lot of Sony PlayStation fans out there very happy. A lot of gamers out there really happy that this very cinematic series, this very cinematic game now, it has evolved from the just button mashing that you did back in the last decades, the 2000s when God of War 1, 2, and 3 came out. I know it's just like how many people can I kill? How many can I get the chain right as far as the combo moves? Can I get as far as that's concerned? And how many times can I go ahead and get Kratos mad and have him angry with the gods? Now it's something a little bit more evolved with the most recent God of War installment that came out just a few years ago. And now with this, it's going to be even more of a cinematic storytelling experience. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the PlayStation fans out there. But seeing that that's the case, that could be a good sign for PlayStation fans. I know it's something in a year where they not had a whole lot to really crow about outside of that one brief time when Horizon Zero and also as well GT7, Gran Turismo 7 came out. Your thoughts on God of War Ragnarok coming this fall?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful news, and you know, I haven't really gotten super into this particular line of video games, but I know quite a few people who are very much into all of that stuff. So, yeah, no, I don't know if I'm personally going to pick up the game just because you need to have time to sit down and play the games, and right now I don't have a whole lot of time. But I'm excited for new video games. I'm always excited to see them, and I'll probably tune into a couple of different Twitch channels that will, I am sure, have the game the day that it releases, so I can have a look at it and see how it is.
Well, Sony, I mean, actually, they can thank Xbox because Xbox with Starfield, that was supposed to be coming out 11/11/22. They had that date hold for quite some time that they had already said they were going to release on. And then, they went up and blew it and delayed it to 2023. So that left the door wide open for Sony to say, "Hey, we're going to walk right in there with our own God of War Ragnarok," and there you go. That's excellent timing because it comes out in the time I say you have to come out, which is right before the biggest shopping days of the year, which is Black Friday. So that's very smart by Sony to go ahead and drop it then. But just announced a couple of days later, knowing that God of War Ragnarok is going to be one of the biggest video game drops of the year, Ubisoft, in all of its infinite wisdom, decided to go ahead and announce that they have a release date for finally one of the most, I guess, longest delayed games in development history. It's been well over 5-6 years now. I mean, I remember saw it being debuted at 2017 at E3, which tells me that it probably was in development for quite some time before that. And that is Skull and Bones, the pirate multiplayer game that's going to be coming out by Ubisoft. And they had the infinite wisdom to drop it, or at least they're going to, as of now, the release date they're going to drop it on is November the 8th, a day before God of War Ragnarok. So this is a game that
Oof.
doesn't have a whole lot of good history behind it, being that it's been delayed for so long. A lot of interest has waned over the years over it. Tell me, in all of your infinite wisdom, if this is a good idea for Ubisoft to drop it the day before God of War Ragnarok drops.
Well, you release it the day before and hope that the day after God of War comes out, people still remember that your game is here.
Or they have enough
Um,
money.
yeah, that's a concern. But gosh, I still have such a bad taste in my mouth with everything that happened with the oh my goodness, the Cyberpunk game
Yeah, Cyberpunk 20.
2077.
Yes.
You know
Cyberpunk
which
20.
one I mean, right?
Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
You hit it.
Okay, good, perfect. Because we bought the game and we were trying to play it when it was super buggy for the
Yeah.
PS4. I know that it's fine now, I believe, for the PS5, but I don't think that it's really super easy to play yet on the PS4. I think they're still working on it.
Still some rough
Um,
patches.
Yeah, but now that, you finally find out that a game is about to drop after delay after delay after delay, I don't know, it just makes me feel a certain kind of way because, we got burnt with that Cyberpunk thing. That makes me really nervous
I
when you
don't
hear
blame
about
you.
games being delayed. Yeah, and I honestly, if they had have delayed Cyberpunk again, people would have been upset about it. But I would have been happier having a game that I could have played out of the box versus a game that I had to fight with to be able to play. And there's a difference,
Yeah, that's true.
you know? So perhaps Skull and Bones took that extra amount of time to really sort themselves out and make sure that they're delivering a playable game right away. I don't know.
Well, the first thing that's surprising to me is that Ubisoft kept it alive after all these years. Because usually, if a game is in that, if a game like that is in development for that long, it's usually canceled. They usually will just
Oh,
go ahead and
that just tells me that it's somebody's passion project.
yeah, must be
You
Ubisoft's
know, so
because
somebody close to the top in Ubisoft is like, this game has to happen. I know there's issues, I know there's problems, but it has to happen. So
like yeah, well over five,
I hear
6 years, possibly even 7 years, even more of development in that game is finally going to come to a head as it gets debuted to right now a November 8th street date. Again, coming a day before God of War Ragnarok. I guess I'm going to be able to hopefully take a look at both of these games. I know God of War Ragnarok is going to hit a home run for Sony. I think it's just going to tell another great narrative as the last one did. So I'm looking forward to that. We don't know about Skull and Bones. We'll see. I mean, the footage is out there. I've shared it on Game Source and Pop Culture Cosmos. So you want to take a look, it's right there for you on Facebook. But yes, those two are matching up. It looks like hopefully we'll see what happens at the Black Friday Showdown. Although I'm assuming a week or two before Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 will get released because that's inevitable that that's going to be released right around that time because they are always smart at Activision to go ahead and release it right around the Black Friday holiday for their latest Call of Duty. So I'm sure they'll do that. But we'll see what happens as the video game showdown shapes up for the holiday season. But what are your thoughts out there on Skull and Bones? Are you ready to get into a new pirate game from Ubisoft that's actually not so new? It's been development for quite some time? Or are you going to go back into the world of God of War with Ragnarok? Please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. And before we hit the break, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and mention that Nason or NACON Connect 2022 just happened. It was about a 45-minute press conference. I actually also posted that on Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source on Facebook. That was a 45-minute presentation from a French publisher, video game publisher, which I've only heard of a couple times. To be in all honesty, I know a lot of gamers out there saying, who? Well, hopefully get a chance to check out their presentation because they've got several games that look pretty good that are on the way. The two most notable, well, actually, the most notable is the Lord of the Rings Gollum. I think a lot of people that already know that that's going to come out. They showcased that a lot more. They showcased a lot of other games as well, but the two that kind of stuck out to me were the flashbacks to the '80s in a new RoboCop game and a new The Terminator game that are both coming on the way sometime in 2023. So, Melinda, and I probably should not be doing this in a bad Arnold Schwarzenegger accent, but are you willing? Are you willing to say I'll be back for another Terminator game, or go ahead and I don't know what the catchphrase is for RoboCop. I forget. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but yes, are you willing to go back to a RoboCop or Terminator game from Nacon or
I will
Nason?
give some time to I'll give some time to a RoboCop game.
Okay,
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll make some
okay,
time for that. Might
okay.
have to
Well,
cancel a game session or two. Maybe there won't be a podcast one week, but I'll give some time to it.
okay. Well, from what I'm hearing, the Terminator game, it looks like it's going to be like an open world kind of game set between, as far as the the rise of Skynet and I guess the formation of John Connor's resistance. So I guess you get to maybe be one side or another, which would be kind of cool that you can go ahead and be one or the other as far as play it from that aspect. If it's, I'm assuming it's going to be some type of multiplayer experience as well. So we'll wait and see on that one. And it looks like RoboCop is, and I think for the best part, it was going to be a first-person shooter type experience, which I think that's pretty much going to be what it needs to be, instead of being something,
Yep.
as far as, oh, I guess it needs to have an open world or whatnot. No, it needs just, if it does a straight linear job of telling a story from a RoboCop perspective, I think that's probably the best suited for it for that type of game.
I agree. RoboCop makes sense as a first-person shooter, which means I'm gonna be really bad at it. So maybe I will have to go Terminator.
Okay, fair
I'm
enough.
so
Fair
bad at
enough.
first-person shooters.
Well, you can
Oh,
always
man.
say though, hopefully that at the very end, it's in the tail end of its life cycle that with RoboCop, you can buy that for $1 because that phrase
Mm.
came out in RoboCop. I remember that phrase. I remember that catchphrase. I'll buy that for $1. But if you will go ahead and let me know out there and let Melinda know your interest in the Nason games, Nacon, Nason, whatever this however you say this French video game publisher, which actually has some really cool stuff. You want to go ahead and check out again with their full presentations, about 45 minutes long. It's right there on the Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source Facebook pages. But if you have thoughts on a new Terminator or RoboCop game or Lord of the Rings Gollum, please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode, and I will give you one more chance to go ahead and plug whatever you plug as always, on the back end of the show. But before we head on out, my friend, wanted to go ahead and I guess we'll go through the good part first, and that's you. Let's focus on you. You do such a great job here on the show, and we always want to hear what your thoughts are. I always ask Josh this from time to time, and that is if he had thoughts on what he would like to see rebooted, because Hollywood always runs out of ideas and they always go back to rebooting something out of the 70s, 80s, 90s, 60s, 50s. Heck, Elvis just came around. So all with all that being said, if you were to go to an IP or a certain thing that you wanted to see rebooted as a television series or a movie, what would that be?
Fringe.
Fringe. Very
Fringe.
nice. So tell us why.
Hands down. I miss Walter Bishop and I miss the Walternate. I loved that show. It was so good. Joshua Jackson was great. Lance Reddick was wonderful and compelling and terrifying and all of the things that you needed him to be as Olivia Dunham's boss.
Well, tell us,
I
tell us
loved that show so much.
for those of
Sorry, go
listeners
ahead.
out there, for those listeners and viewers out there who have not caught Fringe, which is something now that it's actually been in the rearview mirror for quite some time, and even Roger says, "Nice, Fringe was fantastic." I thought it was really
It's
good as
so good.
well. So tell us
Yeah.
why, or tell people out there why Fringe would be a great concept to go ahead and reboot once again.
So, Fringe dealt with this concept of multiverses. And there was a part of it where Walter Bishop, in our universe, that's in quotations because we're going to talk about the Walternate as well. But what he does is he gets these children together that have these unusual abilities. They're not really powers, they're just things that they're able to do. And it makes it easier for them to help him navigate into another multiverse. So Walter Bishop eventually meets Walternate. The first, oh gosh, I can't remember his name. Hang on, I gotta go to my cheat sheet here. The first Peter Bishop actually passes away in a very tragic accident. So, what Walter tries to do is he tries to cross over into this new multiverse that he's found, and he abducts the Peter from that multiverse and brings him back into this one. And eventually there's like a whole bunch of stuff that happens, obviously. There's a whole lot of pseudoscience in there, which I love. It's offbeat, it's interesting. It's X-Files, but if X-Files didn't deal in aliens, it dealt more in like time travel and travel through universes and that kind of stuff. That's a really terrible explanation of it. I can't explain how epic this show was. I loved it so much.
I think you did a pretty good job, especially now
I
in
mean,
the
I
day.
kind of explained it.
Well,
But
yeah,
like, ooh.
people are saying out there that actually remember, is she talking about Fringe or Sliders? No, she's talking about Fringe. Sliders is something altogether different. I think that it doesn't really have the I guess the bite that a lot of people would love to see. I think of the two, they probably would lean more towards Fringe over Sliders, but both could probably be rebooted, and I think it achieves some success. But Fringe, I think of the two, would probably achieve more. I think it's a Fox property, so hey, Disney, go ahead, Check it out, man. Check it out. Check it out.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. No, it was such an epic show. I loved it so much. I even have the DVD sets. That's how much I enjoyed this show. I think it was coming to excuse me, that was a weird feeling. I think we were coming towards the end of DVDs right around the time that the show ended. So I really had to like scour and search to get each season on on DVD. So that's how dedicated I am to the show. Please reboot it.
Okay.
Gerald, talk to your friend at Pixar. I'm sure somehow he could make something happen, right?
If, like I said, yeah, I believe it since it's a Fox property. I think it's a Fox property, just off the top of my head, because that's where it appeared. Then most likely it would be a Disney property now. So you never know. Hulu, next stop Hulu. You never know. You could, if you watch it on Hulu right now, if you can see it on Hulu, then there you go. Right? But I will say, in the age of multiverses, as we're seeing, our show is named the PC Multiverse. But this year alone, since the focus has been on so many properties out there being multiverse related, everything everywhere all at once, which I got to see, and I'm not going to say how much I liked it or didn't like it. I'm going to go ahead and leave that for the end of the year. So we'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I will say
All right.
also as well, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We all know what's gone out there. Again, we talked about it earlier in the show about the success of that movie, and the I guess the emphasis now on multiverses within pop culture, I think leads itself. What we've been talking about recently with Ezra Miller and Flashpoint. That's a multiverse in and of itself. That concept, therefore, as far as changing the whole DC multiverse around into something more streamlined going forward. I know that's something that's going to be much discussed when that movie finally comes out, with or without Ezra Miller. And that's again something we've already talked about on the show last week. So I will say that with the emphasis on multiverses, I really think that this would be a great idea to go ahead and reboot. I really think that's a fantastic, fantastic idea to go ahead and get in, since original ideas are never at a premium in Hollywood, and rebooting seems to be always to their fancy. I think that it could be a great possibility if the right people get behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. You could even approach it from the point of view of the Walternate and have Walter Bishop, mess with his life and just see it from that side of it instead of making the Walternate the bad guy, even though Walter Bishop was also kind of a bad guy, let's be honest. But um you know, you can't win it all, I guess.
Yes.
No, that could be an interesting point of view for the show to take.
There you go. Roger saying Flashpoint fit with the Loki storyline. Well, there you go. Hopefully that could be something there for you with Fringe, a reboot there. I know I say it all the time when we have this subject, and I talked about it with Josh, but if he ever went ahead and redid or rebooted or actually showed a 25 years later type scenario for Starship Troopers, I really think that would be a good get right there. You could still get a lot of the stars that were related that lived from the actual movie. And
Yeah.
if you go ahead and keep that type of concept, I think it actually could work as a series, not a movie, a series. I think it could be a nice little 6 to 10 episode arc, maybe even going ahead in multiple seasons, dealing with the bugs from there. I think you could really go ahead and do something with that. But then again, it's since it's owned by Sony, who knows what kind of motivation they have to go ahead and put something like that out onto a streaming platform. Could they get their buddies at Netflix to go ahead and do something like that? We'll wait and see. But yeah, I think of the two, I think definitely Fringe would be something that I could see happening, because again, Hulu needs all the help it can get. I mean, it just had Murders in the Building season 2. It's riding off the success of that. I think that that's something that they really need to continue, because that show's been a hit for them. They've had other pretty good hits as well. The Orville, again, there's a lot of people go ahead and check that out. So hopefully that'll continue its success in season 3 there. I know that a lot of people are talking about that one way or the other. But yeah, definitely some good things at Hulu. Hulu looks like they are finally on the rise after many years of being like there as a streaming service. So Fringe, if it's owned by Disney, could be just a trick, a reboot of that.
And don't forget too, the new season of What We Do in the Shadows drops. I don't think it's next week. I think it's the week after that.
Yeah, FX
Don't
and
forget,
Hulu.
that's also on Hulu. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of Taika Waititi, like we did earlier in the episode, he still oversees that as far as an executive producer is concerned. So yeah, absolutely. What we do in the shadows. So Hulu, I mean, and Only Murders in the Building. I think that's still been a great big hit for them. That's still about ready to earn a lot of Emmy nominations because I know the Emmy nominations are coming around the corner. So interested to see how far that still gets because I know a lot of people have been loving that, but we'll wait and see, but I do like your idea of a Fringe reboot. I think that's an excellent get. I think we got to go ahead and put you in charge of new series. Got to go ahead and do that. I'm gonna have.
I agree.
I think if they own the IP, I think Disney are going to have to go ahead and bring you over as in charge of Hulu to go ahead and do just that. So, if you want Melinda,
Obviously, yeah.
so, everyone out there, if you want Melinda to go ahead and start this reboot of Fringe, or if you just want to see a reboot of Fringe, or if you want a new reboot of some type of IP property out there, please let us know what you're thinking. Or if you agree with Melinda that Fringe would be a great reboot, please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. My friend, it's been a great episode. You killed it! Being the executive of television that you are with all these reboot ideas you've got dancing around in your
Mhm.
heads, dancing around in your head. But before we head on out, I do want to pay respect to a great actor who unfortunately passed away today at the age of 82, and that is James Caan. Oscar nominated James Caan from The Godfather. They know his success there. I know a lot of people in sort of more modern age, maybe a little bit younger than us, probably would know him best from Elf
Right.
as
Yes.
Will Ferrell's dad. That the I guess suffering throughout the entire film until he realizes, exactly what Will Ferrell's all about, and they come to a great understanding at the very end. I think his performance as a I guess, exact opposite and not dealing or not trying to deal with what Will Ferrell was dishing out the entire movie was made it such a great watch. I think his performance there was outstanding. Don't forget a movie that really got him a lot of praise and actually kicked off the career of Kathy Bates, Misery. That
Yes.
movie is very, very creepy. Actually, my first wife and I, that's the first movie that we actually saw together. And to say there's a scene in there, well, okay, it's not really spoilers because the movie's been out for 25 plus years,
Yes. I
where
think you're safe. If somebody hasn't watched it, then,
yeah,
well,
yeah. Well, there's a scene in there where Kathy Bates has become so demented, and she wants her favorite author, who actually has a car crash and actually ends up being, his legs are broken and he's in such great dire repair, and she actually saves him, and then after a while actually imprisons him in her cabin after this car accident, and to
yeah.
keep him there as he tries to escape, she ends up breaking his feet, if I remember correctly, with a
Oh,
sledgehammer.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Did
that
she
just
ever?
that just blew my first wife away. She just was like, oh, oh. She jumped out of her seat, just cringed and just grabbed me and just like whole 9 yards. And it was just like, yeah, it was pretty scary for her. But Misery is a great performance by James Caan. He had that distinctive style of acting. I really think. Oh,
Yeah.
the ankles. Yeah, that's right, Roger. Ankles. Yeah, she broke his ankles, but yeah, I mean, his feet were messed up. I just remember the whole feet, from the ankles down, they were just all messed up during that. Yeah, that sequence, and yeah, absolutely, good point. Yeah, just truly a very scary movie. But he had great performances throughout the years. Obviously, he's the father of Scott Conn, who saw a lot of fame with the rebooted Hawaii Five O series. But any memories of James Caan before we head on out?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, you can't you'd be, remiss, no, you'd be neglecting,
Mhm.
part of his career if you didn't mention Dick Tracy.
Of
Honeymoon
course.
in Vegas, he was in that as well. He was in News Radio, for at least an episode. He was in The Way of the Gun, that came out in 2000. There was In the Shadows. Just scrolling here, Alf, like you mentioned, he was been in Simpson episodes, he's been in Family Guy episodes. He had something to do with the annoying orange. This guy, you might not have even been aware that you were watching Mr. Khan on television, but you certainly were.
Yeah, and his earlier career doing a lot of films in the 70s, even the late 60s, and then, going into the 80s, he had a good career as far as continuing on then. But yeah, definitely a very decorated career for James Caan, and we pay respects to him and his great career passing at the age of 82. So thank you for all you've done, and our respects to the family from all of us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So before we head on out, my friend, always a great time indeed. You've been fantastic as always, Melinda, but any last thoughts before we head on out?
Yes, congratulations again to the 3 winners for the Vampires and Vitae contest that we were running. Again, Danny Weber, Barry DeRue, and Avery. Congratulations to all of you. Barry and Avery, we're going to get the cast together obviously on Sunday when we get ready for our live stream, and we're going to play with your decks and take cards out and put cards in and write on them and all kinds of funny stuff. So we'll have those in the mail for you soon. Keep your eyes on the Vampires and Vitae page because we've got some stuff planned, and we're working on a couple different contests and stuff like that. So keep your eyes on it. We're very much in planning mode right now of what's coming up here in the next 6 months for the podcast.
Planning mode. Ooh, planning
Yeah.
mode
Yep.
indeed. I'm looking forward to
Yep.
hearing all the evil plans that you and Robbie are coming up with in regards to Vampires of Vitae. But once again, where can they check out all the action besides Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook for all your great stuff that you're doing?
Sure. There's the Pop Culture Cosmos Twitch channel. You can also check us out on the Vampires and Vitae Facebook page, Vamps and Vitae on Twitter if you want to reach out and say hey. I believe, yeah, we're on TikTok. I forgot we make TikTok. Oh, not really make TikTok videos, but we have been known to dabble in TikTok from time to time. And yeah,
TikTok Box.
we're really excited and super proud of this season. It's been a lot of fun so far with 2 brand new players at the table, Roger being one of them. So it's been very fun. And with Wizards and Wine, we've got The Wild Beyond the Witchlight in full swing now. Both groups are going into their 3rd episode. No, that's a lie. Vegas Table goes into their 2nd episode on Monday. So things are progressing very well in the carnival. A couple of creepy things have happened, and it's definitely caught the attention of our adventurers. So we'll see how it all plays
Oh,
out.
yes, we will indeed. So please catch it, Wizards and Wine with The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Also, as well, definitely check out Vampires of Vitae. Roger always runs our games on Mondays. Next couple of weeks we have off, but once we come back, we're come back strong with Demolition Force right there with Roger heading away, going ahead and getting frustrated by our entire group of crazies known as the players that he has on Mondays. That includes us
Bless
from
them, eh?
time to time. Yes,
Yeah,
bless him indeed.
sure
But
does.
also, don't forget the weekends with Mitch. He does a tremendous job of being a DM for our great games on the weekends. So please go ahead and check out the action with Mitch. And again, we truly appreciate everyone supporting what we do here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Want to mention on Monday's show, Josh and I have got some good stuff planned, including the results from the box office weekend for Thor: Love and Thunder. Hopefully, we can elaborate more on our thoughts on the movie itself. Was it good? Was it not so good? Was it something you can't afford to miss? The MCU? What's it going to tell us? We'll find out. Plus, I got an interesting email over the past couple days in regards to a study that was made by a little separate group. Never heard of them before, but I'm going to go ahead and give them some love on Monday's show in regards to what they thought their statistical analysis on what the best year of video gaming is, which is always up
Oh,
for debate.
interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, on our show, we always thought because of the history that has been made by the properties that were actually released in 2007, the influence on the gaming industry, that there is no better year for gaming than 2007. And you can look up the titles, or we'll go ahead and listen to our show on Monday. We'll tell you why. But they have a different idea what year that could be. So we're going to go ahead and elaborate on their thoughts on the year and years they think are the best years for video gaming and see if we agree or disagree. And they have a central theme as well on what that could be. So we'll go ahead and talk more about this study on what they think. I'll tell you the entity, what it is on Monday, on what they think the best year in video games can be. And if you can let us know what your thoughts on the best year of video games was ever for you, please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But definitely on Monday, we're going to be talking about what exactly is the best year for video games. We'll tell you our thoughts once again on Monday on the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great